Welcome back to Barefoot Restorations. I'm back here working on the Ford XW sedan again today. Now, what I wanted to share with you was something that I learned a long time ago when I first started doing these sorts of repairs, is that when you see these pinholes in here, you may not be able to see them in that black paint, but it probably doesn't look so bad from the surface, but typically what you're going to find is that the corrosion, the active corrosion on the inside is much worse, because that's where the corrosion started, is on the inside and corrodes outwards, especially in here where the dirt and the moisture wants to get up and sit in. So always expect that it's going to be worse on the inside. So the mistake I was making was, I go, right, alright, I can just cut that section out there and replace the little patch. But there's two problems with that. One is it's near on impossible to weld that back in because of how thin the material is. Secondly, the corrosion, the extent of it is so large that you've got a bigger area that needs attention, needs to be fixed. So there's no point doing a small patch when you've got a large area that needs to be repaired. So that's why it's great that we've got these rare spares mobs and places like that that bend all these panels up, because they do the larger section and you can just buy that and they go straight in. They're really good. So I've already done the other side, and all I had to change out was about the first foot of the sill. So I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to show you that I'll take this section out, probably just start back here where the pinholes end, either side of that, take that out. I've already done a sill extension here, so I'll just take that section out. I can then inspect in behind this section here and keep chasing it as I inspect it back to sound material.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella sure that I don't become you. I have no regrets, yeah, I'll tie up my chest. I'll never forget what it's like to be in debt. Been stabbed in the back bed, I'll show you what happens. Pass me the mic and I'll show you with action. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you could never own. I feel this pain, you already know.
Alright, so that's the outside and the pinholes we were talking about. This is the inside. See, I've got a little bit of overspray when I treated the when I was putting in the sill extension here, so there's a little bit of overspray in there, but it definitely is worse in here. So that's fairly extensive, typically towards the bottom. That's where obviously this dirt has been sitting, and sort of comes back to reasonable material somewhere up near the top there. But as I was saying, there's no point taking out this little patch here because the corrosion is so extensive right down to the bottom. Now, all I'll do now is I'll get my torch, I'll have a look down inside here, have a bit of a feel around and see whether I need to chase that and how far back I need to chase it. And I can tell you right now there's more there. And that's some of the dirt that's in there. What I've done is taken out a section of the sill at the back end because it needs to be changed. So now I can just get my compressed air and blow all that dirt out, clean it right out so I don't have dirt sitting in there. And I'll just continue cutting this sill back until I'm happy with the material that I'm finding in behind. But I can tell you right now that the corrosion extends further down along, so I need to take more of that out, which is fine. So I've got plenty of a new sill panel there ready to go back in. Just cut it to length. So as I was saying, you always expect that the extent and the magnitude of the corrosion is a lot worse on the inside than what it may appear to be on the outside. So you're typically going to be taking out a bigger piece than what you think. And to be honest with you, I find it easier to weld back in a larger section than a smaller section. And here, you know, we can remove this section of sill here with the plug welds and put in a new piece and plug weld it as per they did in the manufacturing yard. Okay, so as you can see, I've taken out a fair section, a lot more than I had to on the other side, but I chased it, like I said, kept taking bits out until I was happy that I got back to some good material. This was the last section I took out, and you can see there's all plenty of good material there, not much corrosion at the bottom, a little bit of a pit there, but I took that out. So all in all, pretty good. You can see where the plug welds are, where I've taken them out. I got a little bit overzealous on that one, ripped through, but I can just weld that in from the back. The inner sill was not too bad, thankfully. There's a little bit of pitting in there, but once I treated that corrosion and painted it, it's fine. That will hold up just nicely. Again, I've blown out all inside of there. I've blown a bit of paint up in there as well, just for a bit of extra protection, but I didn't really need it. Then I've gone and cut my sill piece in, ready to go in. So basically with my sill, it had a little bit extra on here for the roll up here, but I don't need that piece, so I've cut that out. So you obviously have your tools ready to go. I've got a nice long metal ruler that's 1 metre, so then I can use that as a straight edge as well as measuring. And my sliding angle here. Once I'd cut this out, I was able to just use that as my template, cut on there. So then I pretty much got that cut, which is this edge out here. I've got it near on perfect. And you always, like anything, like timber or anything, and steel, you'll cut a bit proud, so you've got plenty of material. And then all I done is just shaved it back until I was happy that it was nice and neat. And that's looking pretty good. I've trimmed it up, put a bit of work into trimming it up at this end. As you can see, I've rounded off the edge, not a sharp corner. Now I just need to get this angle in here right. I'll drill through this every inch or so I can do my plug welds. And that's about it.
Some of the revelations pretty shocking. He's admitted to running a private business from his parliamentary office.
Alright, here it is tucked in.
You turned your office in from a house on Macquarie Street into an office for documentation.
Alright, so we've had a little bit of a change of plan with this sill. Previously I'd changed out the extension and the first foot or so of the sill itself, and I'd cut out the rear section thinking that's all I'd need to do. It's like I was saying, that it felt pretty good to touch on the inside, but anyway, after removing the back section, I could see that it was actually getting worse on the inside, so I took a bit more and a bit more, and now I'm at the point where I might as well have just changed the whole sill out. So lesson learnt there, but anyway, I've just got online and ordered another one to get sent up, so I'm thinking I might just remove what I've already done, unpick all that and do the whole sill in one length. There's another thing I discovered was that to get that line straight is very challenging when you're doing bits and pieces versus having one full length, which I think, well, would definitely make it a lot easier. It's a bit more work in welding, but I think it's the only way to do it, because I want to make sure that this thing ain't going to rust out again. And you can see by the inner sill here, it's got some active corrosion. It's starting to flake away, so it's getting pretty, well, it's advancing anyway. I'm confident that I can save that inner sill. I don't think it's too far gone. Yes, it's going to have pitting, but as long as it's structural and doesn't have holes in it, I think I can just clean it up and paint it. Put some protective coating back on it and get rid of that active corrosion, and I guess we're good to go. But yeah, definitely the outer sill had some holes in it, and I was, like my previous video, I was just chasing it, and then I've got to the point where I can feel inside and I can feel more in there. So it's like, well, what do? You've got to get rid of the rust, so it's just the way it is. If I've got to do rework, I've got to do rework. I just need to accept it. Anyway, I'll come back to you and show you where I'm up to next time. Okay, so here's where we're at. I've cleaned up the inner sill and sandblasted it. Put a patch in behind here. Still needs a bit of a clean up yet, but it's not too bad. So it's going to get sprayed with all the underbody spray anyway, but it's nice and solid. I put some weld through primer along the bottom where I'm going to do my plug welds once I get the new outer sill in. And now I'm going to spray just the bitumen paint on the inner sill. Righto, so that's it. Sprayed, still a bit wet, but yeah, it's nice, that coating, that it's black bitumen. So looks quite durable, so I think it's more than appropriate to go on the inside here. And I'll get a few more years out of that inner sill. Very nice. Okay, back again. I've jumped ahead a little bit, put the sill on and just started doing the welding up, putting on some spot welds underneath. Still got to finish them off, just done every second one. Yeah, it took a bit of work to get it on there. Still a good bit of material, but or a good rust repair panel. Just needs a little bit of a tickle up to get it where you want it to go, that's all. This one does have a bit of the roll up, but I cut that out. As you can see here, I've cut it back to here. But I think the rare spares ones have this whole section here which comes down, so you can actually pinch it onto the inside or the what's that, the floor pan, and do your spot welds there. But I don't know, I wasn't aware of that. It's hard to tell when you're looking at the photos on eBay for the rare spares stuff. You're not sure on what shape it is, so I found this knob here on eBay, and they got this cheap one, well, cheaper. It's, I think it was about 80 bucks and about $30 or $40 delivered, because I'm up here in North Queensland. Yeah, but anyway, it does all I need it to, because it wasn't rusted up here up in the top here, so I don't need to go that far with it. And I think, like I was saying once before, that I prefer to do a larger panel, and well, obviously I should have done the full length of the sill, but that was a bit of a learning curve for me. I thought that I could chase it until I got good material, and it turns out that there was not much in the way of good material left on the inside of that sill. So anyway, that's fine. Next time, if I ever do another one, I'll replace the whole sill, and I'm pretty sure with the rare spares mob, they attach the sill extension already, so it's all complete. It makes it a hell of a lot easier, instead of trying to join it up, because it didn't quite marry up that nicely here. I've had to sort of manipulate it a little bit, but it'll all come up good in the end. But anyway, yeah, she's all coming up pretty good. Pretty happy with that. I'm just going nice and steady because I don't want to weld too much heat into the panels. So I'm just going bit by bit, give it a bit of a clean up, blow some holes in it, but I'll sort them out. A few gaps there to fill, but that's fine. Yeah, I've gone a little bit different on this side, so it's going to be a neater finish. It doesn't actually tuck in behind the B pillar. As soon as it's going to be my car and it's down the bottom underneath the doors, I'm not too concerned about it. If anything, I reckon it's going to look better because it'll be flush, not just panels pressed together. So anyway, we'll see what that looks like at the end of the day. An old patch in here, I'm just tidying up. I think I'm going to have to make a new piece, so I'm not going to be able to weld that up. It's a little bit too much. I can do that. And yes, I have done the spot welding from the outside, but all these welds I'm going to grind back, so you won't even know. She's going to be neat as a pin when I'm finished. So yeah, the line's pretty good. A lot better than doing a shorter piece, that's for sure. If you weld a short piece in, it sort of, I don't know, deforms, and over that long line you lose your line basically. So, but with this one, she's beautiful. The bottom has a little bit of a bow in it up the far end towards the back, but some of that's to do with the excess material that I've got hanging out the back here, the way that it sort of butts in underneath here. Can't really see it, I don't think. That's sort of holding it out a little bit, so the arse end of this is a little bit bowed, but I'm going to be able to correct that. But overall, I am extremely happy with the line. I did notice on the other side that it does bow out a little bit. It's not straight, if you know what I mean. It sort of bows out a little bit, and that's going by the original section on the other side of the car. So I'm happy that after welding that back in, we've managed to retain that little bit of a bow, because it must show somehow. I'm not sure what goes on there, maybe where the doors bolt in, but anywho, we'll see what it all looks like when the doors are back on. Hopefully that's not too far off. Alright, another couple of things I forgot to mention was if you were to use this type of repair panel where it doesn't spot weld back onto the floor pan in here, and you're going to join it back out here somewhere, I wouldn't advise welding on the flat here. Reason being is when you weld, it's going to pull on the steel when it heats up, and it will deform, I believe it, even on the long piece, because it did it on the short piece, it'll deform this line down here, so you might get some in and out along the sill there, so I wouldn't do that. That's why on this time what I did was I welded on the upright, so if anything it's going to pull it up or down depending on which way it wants to go. But thankfully I didn't get too much of that from what I can see. Maybe it doesn't show on this outside corner because it actually pulls this section up and down, if you know what I mean. So it didn't show in this line here, which I'm really happy about. The other thing is, when I'm putting these panels on, I spend a lot of time trimming them. So I'll get it to pretty close to where I want, and I think I said once before is I'll leave plenty of material where the joins are going to be, so I can easily shave it down. It's a lot harder, obviously, trying to fill big gaps when you get gaps like that. That's a little bit unfortunate, but you do get that, especially over longer panels, I'm assuming. So I trim it up as best as I can. I put it on, have a look, I might mark a few things, take it off, trim it back again, keep doing that until I get it close to where I want it. And lucky with this panel, I was able to put some clamps on to hold it in position roughly where I wanted it. And when I'm pretty happy with it overall, and I don't think I need to take it off again, and I can just use manipulate it by hand with a hammer and dolly, that's when I'll start tacking it on. So I'll use the clamps, and I might put a little tack in it, like in one of the, here I started in this corner, so I knew that it was right where it joins here, and then I did the same on the other end. I put a little tack up the far end as well, and I think one, maybe a couple in the middle up through here. And I left the bottom to last because I wanted the top looking as best as I possibly could. So when you open your doors and you're looking down the line, it's as best as it can be. It saves me a bit of work later on with filler or whatever. And so then I left the bottom till last. And that's what proved to be a little bit challenging, especially up towards the back here, because it didn't want to marry up as nicely. It's pretty damn good still now, but it took a bit of work to get it where I needed to be. Up the front, it was nice and it's almost flush here, the two pieces coming together. So what I did was I used clamps, just little G clamps, 1, 2, 3, along the whole thing to get it roughly where I needed it. And then I came back to where I wanted to start at the front here, and put a little tack weld in where I wanted that. And then I went through with the clamp and started pinching where I'd pre-welded and trying to bring it together where I wanted it, and manipulating as I went. So then as I worked towards the back, I needed it to go up. So I got more material butting up together. And just kept doing it like that and pinching it together and working it slowly and sort of then jumping ahead to make sure when I did get to the end I wasn't going to have too much of a drama there. That worked out well. I did have to use the concrete chisel. This thing's worked pretty good, spreads out over a large area, and just give it a bit of a tap. Obviously you don't need to give it too much, it's only thin material, so it's easy to manipulate, which is great. And so yeah, that's something that I did there to get that where it is, and I'm pretty happy with that.